There was a criminal who was so dumb that whenever the heroes got a call and the criminal turned out to be a certain Jeff, they acted out as they tagged him the stupidest criminal in Swellview because, oh boy, this dude is stupid. Still on the basis of stupid criminals, literally a long line of Jeff's descendants, here are some really dumb and stupid criminals who think they can escape the police. To-ya Lore. On the 31st of May, the year 2021, To-ya Lore was spotted speeding southward while he was on a motorcycle he was riding. The Onalaska police officer who saw the overspeeding rider sought to pull the rider over and offer a ticket at least. Come on, bro, it's not a certain African country where you're accosted and charged with every single charge on planet Earth. But in spite of all that, Yia had other things in mind. As the police officer tried to initiate a traffic stop, Yia went full MotoGP on the officer and took off riding. The police officer initiated a chase, and that was when you'd know this was no child's play. The chase went on for a period of time as the police vehicle kept on trailing this traffic offender, but he just wouldn't stop. At a point, even the police car came side by side with the motorcycle, and then they urged the rider to pull over, thinking that he heard them, and it initially looked like he was gonna pull over. But then, in a flash, he took off again down Oak Avenue, which was one thing for sure, pissing off a police officer, and eventually the deadliest choice he ever made in his life. As he took off running, the police officer was pretty much tired and was informing dispatch that he was ending the chase as the rider refused to comply when he got an emergency call and sped to the location. Lo and behold, it was the motorcycle he was chasing, but the rider had collided with a vehicle, and boy, oh boy, the motorcycle parts were scattered all around, and it was so obvious that it was a dangerous accident. The chances of survival were really slim, but at that point, the term chance of survival couldn't even be used, as the rider was proclaimed dead on the spot, all because of a dumb decision not to pull over and only get a ticket. Instead, he got a one-way ticket back to heaven, or hell, I have no idea. Joseph Solinger. Meet Joseph Solinger, a man who gives no fucks about the police and what they want him to do or need him to do. There was an accident scene a few blocks from where he was at that point, and where the cops were trying to direct the traffic, Joseph, in his white-colored Hummer, just sped past the operatives. This allowed the next checkpoint operatives to question him and pull him over, asking why he drove so recklessly at an accident scene. But then Toretto Joseph takes off yet again. When he was pulled over one more time, the police officers, already enraged, asked him, "What are you doing?" He went on to respond that he's not here to hurt anyone. He doesn't want to hurt anyone, and he just wants to get to his wife and kids. The police still challenged him in spite of his somewhat reasonable motive, then proceeded to ask for his driver's license. But I guess in Joseph Solinger's language, "Give me your driver's license" means speed off, because that's what he just did without even looking back. He really was going to meet his wife and kids at the zoo, but for him to do that, he had to make a U-turn, passing the officers again. But this time, he didn't stop at all. He just drove by. The officers had no choice but to initiate a chase. When they finally caught up to him, the officer pulled out his taser and tased him instantly before attempting to handcuff him and ask all the questions they were asking. All that could have been avoided if he had just complied with the initial request to just pull over. Joseph was later charged with 7 counts of different charges, namely, driving under the influence, reckless operation, inducing panic, misconduct at an emergency, failure to comply, resisting arrest, and obstructing officials. Damn, 7 charges in just 30 minutes of madness. If this ain't dumb, I really don't know what is. The Fantastic Four. There's gotta be something about young people and overspeeding. There's definitely something we all can't see there, but it's there. On the 13th of July in 2022, 2 17-year-old boys whose identities were unknown, Tyler Park and James Adam, who were 18 and 19 years old respectively, were driving at a speed of 50 miles per hour on a route in Glendale, Wisconsin, which had a speed limit of 30 miles per hour. So not just were the boys overspeeding, but they were well past the speed limit of that route, and they didn't look to be stopping for anything at all. When the police officer intended to pull them over initially, it was very much obvious that these guys weren't going to stop at all as they kept on firing on all cylinders. Even when they informed another police officer who was way ahead of the vehicle in pursuit, it was still to no avail. Even when the officer dropped a stop stick, the dudes evaded the stop sticks, and, well, the chase went on. The teenagers were pretty intentional and knew they weren't gonna stop. Especially once you've initiated a chase from the police, you just have to keep running because you had a choice. And then you picked your card, the running card. This was no motorcycle, so the police continued chasing the vehicle. Eventually, due to the speeds the car was running at, they had a minor crash and then finally decided to pull over, or so the police thought. But immediately after pulling over, they all got out of the vehicle and made a run for it. While they made the dumb choice to run on foot, which must have been the dumbest thing they might have done in their lives, some items fell from the vehicle, including illegal firearms and a massive amount of hard currency. The money was even scattered across the road, giving the police a renewed and determined reason to apprehend the runaways. The first guy was caught while he tried to run inside someone's home and eventually jumped into a guarded enclosure, which was another dumb choice made again. If you're gonna do something, bro, do it right. Trying to outrun a vehicle on foot is dumb, with a sprinkle of, I'm just a son of Jeff. The second culprit was apprehended on an open field. In short, all of them were caught in the end. And that was when the police discovered the reason why the boys were running. The driver, Tyler Parker, had a suspended driver's license. And that's not all. He also had 2 active charges at that time: a non-felony warrant for the possession of a dangerous weapon and a felony warrant for the robbery of a financial institution as a party to a crime. These charges kept the boys on the run, and that was why they didn't want to stop. The other guys had no warrants on them, but the police found another firearm and 25 grams of marijuana. The boys were charged accordingly as they were all apprehended by the cops. Tyler was charged with felony fleeing and misdemeanor jumping, with a cash bond set at $10,000. James Adams didn't really do much though, so he was just charged with a citation of resisting. One of the 17-year-olds got a count of misdemeanor resisting and concealed carrying without a permit, as a gun was found on him. The last guy was charged with misdemeanor counts of resisting, concealed carrying without a permit, and possession of THC while armed. A really long and crazy story though. Moving on. Stephen Lawrence Blackley. While Florida police officer Jay Rawlerson was talking to dispatch and telling them that he was responding to calls from a particular scene that reported a man running across the road in a bid to maybe stop the traffic or something, he went on to see what was happening. On getting there, he saw a gray-colored Toyota Sequoia parked just in front of him, and as he was about to get down, a man came out of the vehicle and began to charge at him. He did not think twice to use the taser on the man, which would keep anyone down and prevent them from harming themselves or even harming him. One can never be too safe. But also, based on the recording from the dash cam, the dude charged at Rawlerson like he was coming to beat him up or something. Mr. Blackley was tased after saying he was going to turn off the police car's light. After the incident, he was taken to the hospital and then was evaluated, and no charges followed after he was discharged. Stay-away order. On the 18th of January in 2024, in a school in Ohio where everything seemed completely normal, a mother was just going to drop off her daughter at school. But there's a little twist to this. Her car being on the school premises called for a violation of a stay-away order, which orders her to stay away from the school premises. An officer spotted her and informed the police because it wasn't the first time she had violated the order. The police officer approached her and told her to step out of the car, explaining that she was violating a stay-away order, and he had been called to investigate it. She responded immediately that he should call his chief of police, as she was already calling her attorney. She was downright rude to the officer and wasn't willing to hear anything the officer had to say. She even implicated herself more, saying she had been dropping her daughter off all year, which was a direct violation of the stay-away order. At this point, the officer was being insulted and wouldn't have any of it anymore. He told the lady he was going to bust her window if she didn't step out. He even told her she was under arrest for obstructing official business. From this point onward, it was all the police officer as he placed a stop stick over her tires in case she tried to act smart and speed off. This is where it gets serious. He picked up a window punch that sent a direct message to the woman. Lady, we ain't here to play. But if you ask me, it was too harsh by the police officer on a lady. His next actions were just too much, especially right in front of a school with kids watching, even her little daughter. As the woman opened the door, the police officer yanked the lady out and proceeded to tase her. All this was going on while she was shouting at the top of her voice. She was later taken to a hospital and had a checkup to make sure she was not inflicted with any injury, and she wasn't. She was charged with violation of a protection order, assault, resisting arrest, disorderly conduct, obstructing official business, and failure to comply with the order signal of a police officer. Sometimes, some police officers are brutal towards civilians resisting or ignoring them, while some of them hold their patients right to the very last line. In all, someone is definitely getting hurt, but in all fairness, a whole lot could be avoided if only the civilians listened to the cops in the first instance. If you enjoyed this content and you fancy some more like this, kindly like and subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss any updates like this in the future.